Hi, I am Loganathan. I am working as assistant professor in Erode Singular Engineering College. My topic is software engineering. Today I explain uh, software engineering and software engineering process, and then um, uh, software requirement specification, and then TFT. This is today agenda. Previous video I explained introduction of software engineering, process model, and then requirements, and then types of requirement, functional and non-functional requirements. So in this session, we discuss first we discuss a requirement engineering process. So so what is, first of all, we know what is a requirement engineering. So requirement engineering is nothing but collect the requirement from the client and then analyze and then prepare the document. That is called as requirement engineering. So main motive for a requirement engineering is to develop and maintain a descriptive system requirement specification document. So it is a bridge between design and construction. So requirement engineering is a bridge between design and construction. Design and implementations. Here follow some activities or process that commonly have 5 activities: feasibility study, requirement gathering, software requirement specification, software requirement validation, software requirement management. So we see one by one. First, see the diagram. First, feasibility study. So in this process, the organization check that particular software is worthwhile or not, and also they check, ensure themselves if a project is meet the organization objective or not. Some of the some of the things are checked during this process: that the system contributes to organization objectives, if the system can be engineered using current technology and within budget, and next, if the system can be integrated with other systems that are used. So these things are conserved or ensure in the first process. It's a very beginning process. So after ensure these things, they prepare one report. So after they prepare a report, they move to the requirement elucidation analysis. So in this phase only, the requirement collect from the user and then analysis. So next phase, requirement specification. After collecting the requirement from the user, then prepare the document during requirement specification phase. The next phase, validations. So again, validate the each and every requirement correctly. We can document it or not, or it's a valid requirement or not, valid requirement to the system or software or not. So again, they can validate. And finally, requirements documentations. Okay, so we see one by one. We can see briefly. So first, feasibility study, nothing but we can check the project is worthwhile or not, it's meet the organization's objective or not, and also satisfy the customer needs or not. So basic things are discussed and then prepare the document in first process. So next process, requirement elucidation and analysis. So in this process, collect the requirement from the user or customer or stakeholders. Only here collect the requirement from the users. So during the requirement collections or analysis, we follow some four activity, four process. What are the activity means? Requirement discover, requirement classification and analyze organization, requirement periodization and negotiation, and the requirement specification. So these four activities are used to collect the requirement from the customers. So first activity, requirements discover. So in this process, interacting with the stakeholders to collect their requirements and also collect domain requirements also. And then next, requirement classification and organization. Groups related requirements and organize them into co-print clusters. So here collected requirements are classified based on the types, that is non-functional, functional, hardware requirements, software requirements. So all the classified. So unnecessary requirements are removed. Periodization. So here they give hierarchy wise and priority wise, high priority and low priority wise, the requirements are classified. The conflict requirements will be removed. And then finally, requirements are documented, input to the next round of the spiral model. So first process, requirement discover. So in this process, the organization, the team members or team manager interact with the client, collecting the requirement from the users. So what are the methods or techniques are used to collect the requirement from the user? So the here follows three techniques: interviews, scenarios, use cases. So which help the stakeholders to understand what the system is like. So various methods for requirement discover. First method, interviewing. The organization or team manager conduct one interviews. So then about the ask some questions to the stakeholders about the systems that currently used. So here follow here there are two types of interview can be conducted: closed-ended questions and then open-ended questions. So closed-ended questions, they provide predefined set of questions to the user. They prepare the answer and then submit to the organization or team manager. Then open-ended questions, there is no predefined question and expected answers. There is no predefined expected answers. They don't give any. So during this interview, there some requirements are collected from the customers. Second, a scenario based technology, technique or methods. It's a sequence of interaction made by the user with the software systems. So scenario describes the interaction sessions. What are the things included in the scenario means? So description of what about what the system and the user want at the beginning of the scenarios, and then description of normal flow of the events, description of something that went wrong and how to handle it, description of other activities occur in the systems, description of the end state or this is an example I give you. Scenario for an article downloading in the library system. So the user want to interact with the online library system and also log in and then download some article from that website. So first initial assumption, the user log into the library system and search for the desired articles. It's a process, it's a function. So what are the flows are happen in the function? So now see one by one. When the user find the record articles, then click the downloading, then button for downloading the articles. He might be display either provide the describer information or request for payment for purchasing the article. So the user log into the library system. So they want to download the articles. So they may display for either subscriber information or required for payment for purchasing the articles. The user either submit the description information or pays online for the articles. It may be displayed with the copyright information and might be requested to fill the copyright related forms. So user fill up the form and submit it. And then user is authenticate and required document can be present to the user in PDF format. The finally, user might select the print option for printing the required article. So user log into the library management system. There is display subscription information and then payment option. If you want download, if you want pay means you can pay the amount and before payment you can fill some application form. So after filling the application form, you can submit the application form immediately. They give some PDF document. You can download the or print the PDF documents. That is articles. What are things? What are the wrong will be happen during this process? The user paid to pay for the article. Sometimes user not pay the articles, not pay the particular article amounts, and then user make mistake in the filling the form. The other activities, user can also download others articles and also search the other articles. Finish stage, user get log out the library systems. So is a scenario, so simple scenario. So you can write all the things in wordings. So first one assumption, that is what is the function. Initially you can write what are the process process in the scenarios, and then flow, normal flows you can explain one by one, and then what are the errors will occur during this process and other activities, and then finish the end state we can mention clearly. So in this scenario, we can identify the requirements. What are the thing requirements are needed? So all the things are identified easily. Then third method is use cases. It is also use scenario based technique. Use case help to identify individual interaction with the system. So with help of the use case, we can easily identify and collect the requirements. So some type of difficult notations are used in use cases. That is use case, actor, boundary, flows, connections, include relationship, extended relationship. Actor to interact with the system, human or other system. Interaction, there is use case that can be represented in ellipse. Connection is the lines or flows between the actor and the interactions. Include a relationship. It denotes a connection between the two interactions when the interaction is invoked by other. And then exclude in relationship means it denotes the connection between two interactions. Two interactions again we mentioned. We see exclude relation. So I saw an example use case for ATM machines. Uh, Here the actors are operator, customer, and bank. The use cases are startup system, shutdown system, and establish the session, transaction, withdrawal, deposit, inquiry. So the use cases. So include and close are mentioned this use case diagram. So operator only they can do shutdown, start up the system and shut down the systems. The customer can establish the connections using our bank account or ATM card, and then transaction they can do. So during the transaction, they can select the options, maybe withdrawal, deposit, or request. So, see, with help of these use cases, easily identified who are the interact with the system and requirements. What are the things will be happen? What are the process are going on? All the things are easily identified. This is a scenario. I saw an example. Develop complete use case for the following. Make it withdrawal from an ATM bank. So previous slide, use case diagram with scenario based. Use case ATM system. Primary actor a customer is an actor. Goal is to monitor all the functions required to establish the session. So the main goal for this in a use case is the customer enter the ATM machines. The expected functionality is working or not. They can establish the connection or not. Check establish to establish the session or not. Preconditions system to be programmed also and also to recognize validate the PIN. Trigger on completion of every activity, a beep has to be generated by the system. So each and every activity, the beep sound will be generated. Scenario. So first one, the customer observe the control panel. First, enter the ATM machines. We observe the control panel. The machine is working or not, and then customer enter the ATM card, and then customer enter the PIN number. When the customer select the options, there are variety of options. Various options are there, and then customer collect the cash statement and card etc. Exception errors. What are the errors will be occur during this process? The control panel is not ready. Sometimes the server PC or no cache visibility display in the panel. PIN is incorrect. Sometimes user or customer enter wrong PIN number and do not establish the connections. A card is not recognized. The card may be expired or damaged. Means the card cannot be insufficient balance. Customer can establish the connection but not collect the cash because of insufficient balance. So limited for transaction access. Only some nowadays some companies are framed some constraints. Only limited transactions only they are allowed, and also amount. So priority essential must be implemented in banking system. And the second actor is administrator is the bank. So in this way we can we can identify the requirements. So validations. So after collecting the requirements, definitely we can validate is a valid requirement or not. Is a consistency, completeness, relation, verifiability. So all things are valid. Then they follow validations in requirement validations. They follow three techniques. That is test case generation, requirement reviews, prototyping. So test case generation means they we take one requirement. Again, they prepare the test cases and then verify the particular requirement is valid or not. And then review. So review one by one. Requirement can be reviewed one by one. Then third one, prototyping. The model can be created. Based on the record, model can be created, but all the requirements are working properly or not in the basic prototype. This way we can validate all the requirements. So next, requirement management. The requirement management is a process of managing change requirement in the during the development time. So managing the changing requirements during the development time. Okay. So why the requirements get changed? Uh, the requirements always incomplete and inconsistent. And then system customers may specify the requirement from business perspective, but the conflict with end user requirements. So during the development of the system, in business and technical environment may be changed. So this way requirement can be changed. So in requirement can be classified two ways, two types, enduring and volatile requirement. Enduring means the requirements cannot be changed because the requirement get from derived from core activity of the organizations. Okay, and volatile requirement can be changed and get changed during the development stage. So if you want to find the relationship between the requirement, and the source and the system design. We use a traceability method. So in this traceability, they can find out the dependency between the requirements. So if one requirements depend upon other requirements, then it is row and column cell is denoted D. The requirement weak relation you can mention as or see the diagram. See the traceability matrix requirement ID A B C D and also A B C D. So A and B here nature D. So these both requirement are dependent. We cannot change that requirement. If we change it means the entire process will be changed. So likewise, A and E is these both are weak relationship. So it is possible to change. So we can identify relationship between the requirements through this traceability matrix. Requirement change management. So requirement change management is a technique that can be applied to the process which requirement can make it change. So this technique can apply which requirements may get changed. So why the requirement management is important is to control changes, control in changes, and then required change management process can be applied in three phases. That is problem analysis and change the specification, and the second one change analysis and costing, and then change implementations. See the diagram. They can clearly explain. First, problem in which requirement get changed. The first customer requested to the organization, I want you need to change the particular requirement. So first, the company problem analysis and change specification. So problem can be analysis. The what are the specification requirement want to change that problem can be analysis, and then a change analysis. If you want change means if any affects any problem will occur or not, and then cost effort will be calculated. So then changes can be implemented. So it's a process, change management process. So end of this process the requirement can be changed. If any deviations, if during the analysis phase, if any problems occur means the requirement can be changed and discussed with the customer, and then cost will be discussed, and then finally the changes will be happen. The next topic is software requirement documentations. So previous process collecting the requirement from the customer. So after the collecting the requirement from the customer, we can prepare the document. How we prepare, what are the format we can follow. So that things we discuss in this topic. The software requirement document is the specification of the system. We can prepare the document, the specification of the system. It should be include the definition and specification of the requirements. Software requirement specifications. Software requirement provide basics for creating a software requirement specification. So SRS is useful in establishing a cost, planning team activity, performing task, tracking the team progress throughout the development activities. So typical software engineers use IEEE standard 830-1998 as a basics for the entire software specifications. IEEE standard format. So I will show the how to write it's a IEEE standard format for SRS. First we write the document title. What is the title for the document? Author name, address, date, document versions. So it's a header. So you must write these things in header, and then what in document what other things are present means first introductions. In this introduction, the purpose of this document, why we create this document, and the scope, objectives are can be defined, and then overview, prescribe briefly define the product and then a result of the each requirements. A general description is functionality of the product such as similar system information, user characteristics, user objective, general constraints placed in this in team. So can in this part, the functionality of the product can be explained. Functional requirements. What are the functional requirements are used in this project and the systems that can be defined. And then interface requirements, hardware, software interfaces to the systems. What are the user interfaces, hardware interfaces, communication interfaces, the network interfaces, and software interfaces. What are the softwares are using, using that can be mentioned in this part. And performance, specific how much fast the system can be executing or how much memory are required. So all these things are mentioned in this topic. Design constraints, the limitations, design limitations, other non-functional requirements, that is reliability, maintainability, portability, extendability, reusability. So these things are discussed. Can briefly write. And then operational scenario. So here write scenarios for each requirement, what the user are expecting. And then preliminary schedules, project plan including major tasks to be accomplished and interdependencies and the tentative start and start dates all can be mentioned in this preliminary schedules. Preliminary budget. Here initial budget for the project is mentioned. So appendix, so finally, so appendix is nothing but definition, acronyms, abbreviations. So each word abbreviation can be right here. Reference, provide complete reference document or attached end of the documents. So this way we can prepare the document. This the 11 things are important in SRS. So all the things, all the requirement are create one document. The document present like this is a IEEE standard format. So in this document present these things: introduction, general description, functional requirement, interface requirements, performance requirement, design constraint, other non-functional requirements, operational scenarios, preliminary schedules, budget, appendices. So these things are present in SRS. Next, structure system analysis. So these topics used for analyzing the systems is another technique. In this technique, system requirements are converted into specification and then into computer program. Okay. So what are the here the system can be modeled using two ways: entity relationship diagram that can be represented the data models. The data can be represented in entity relationship model, and next data flow diagram and control flow diagram are used to represent the functional models. Functional, we can in this DFT explain function of the system or function of the model. Okay, so we now discuss DFT only. So designing data flow diagram. So used to model the information and function domain. And then redefine. So again, you can redefine of DFT in greater level. That will help to analyze the performance of perform functional decomposition. Okay. So what are the we give some guidelines for creating the DFT below, given below. So level 0 DFT. So you can call it as context level DFT. Context level DFT will show it will show the system a single bubble. Bubble is a single diagram. It will show the entire system working models. Then second, primary input and primary output should be clearly identified in DFT diagram. So input output portion should be clearly identified and clearly mentioned. While doing the refinement isolate process, so data object data stored to the represent the next level. So in the refine section, refine of DFT, we can clearly mention data object is data stores. So all the bubbles and arrows should be appropriate named. So all the bubbles and arrows are clearly named. Give name for all the bubbles and arrows. One bubble at a time should be redefined. So on zero level one means can redefine only one bubble. And the sixth one, information flow continuity must be maintained from level to level. So some of the symbols are used in DFT data flow diagram. That's the external entity, process, transition, data store. So external entity is our objects outside system with which the system communicates our external entities, our source, our destination of the system, inputs and output. It's an input output. We can, if you use input output, means you can use this rectangle box. Process means you can use this circle shape notation that symbols. The process a process transforms incoming data flow into the outcoming data flows. Then transition represents the flow of information from one entity to another entity. So it's a simple arrows. Data store are a repository of data in the systems. There are sometimes also referred to as files or databases. So I will explain the example. Consider an online railway reservation system which allows the user to select route, book, cancel the ticket using net banking, credit card, and debit cards. The site also maintains the history of the passenger for the above system. And this draw the use case scenario and model the above specification using data flow diagram. So solution I use solution use case for the given railway system is login. So first use case we can draw. First login, select the route, book or cancel the ticket, view the status and log out. It's a use case. So here the actors are passenger, bank and bill. The passenger login first and select the route and then book the ticket and then view the status and then log out. These are process in the online reservation system. And then DFT diagram. So level 1, level 0 and level 1 DFT can be shown below. This is a context diagram. In this diagram, passenger, that is user, interact with the online railway reservation system. It's a process. And then book the ticket and other ticket informations and the history of passengers also present here. And then reservation status, check the reservation status, that information sent to the passengers. Okay, this is a level 0. Next we see the brief refinement DFT diagram, refined DFT diagram. So brief description of DFT diagram. See passenger user ID password, enter into the login and then give login ID password that can be verified, background that when verified, user details are verified. If it valid email password means, and then go to the select the route, then train inquiry. They can check the route, route and train details. If they have the available means, book the ticket and make payments. Payment may be online or credit card, debit card status, and then print the ticket and generate the ticket. It's a one other it's a booking process. If I want to cancel the ticket means log in and then cancel the ticket, update the database, and then get the refinement amount and get the amount back. So this way we can clearly analyze our systems with the help of structure system analysis using DFT diagram. Okay, thank you. Today I explained requirement elucidation and analysis, and then SRS, software requirement specification, so data flow diagram. So thank you. So thank you. Next we discuss. We move to second, and we move to system design. So thank you. We see the next videos. Thank you.